tangled in whispers, caught in the storm. The love is the shelter, keeps our hearts warm. Through every silence, every sharp fight, there's a light, oh, a light calling us right.
Welcome to Soar, Leadership for Kingdom Women, the podcast where faith meets leadership. Here we equip, inspire, and empower women to strengthen, overcome, align, and rise in their God-given calling, whether in business, in church, or in life. This is your time to rise higher. Let's soar together. Here's your host, Dr. Sharon Arrindell.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Soar Leadership for Kingdom Woman, where Kingdom Women rise with purpose, power, and spiritual clarity. I am your host, Dr. Sharon Arrindell, and today's episode is especially impactful because I am the interviewer interviewing an interviewer. So I get to do that today. So we're joined by the incredible Reverend Dr. Barbara A.F. Brehon, visionary leader, now best-selling author of the Soar book that we wrote together, mentor, and the powerful voice behind chapters 17 and 18 of From Cocoon to Soar, our new best-selling book. Her chapters were Emerging from Darkness and the Power of Self-Discovery. So get ready for our transformative conversation on healing, resilience, identity, courage, all the things that it takes to emerge into the woman God created you to be. So let's jump in as I introduce my friend, my sister friend, Dr. Barbara Brehon. Hello there.
Hello there. How are you today?
I am good. And like I said earlier, I'm excited to interview the interviewer. For those of you who don't know why I keep saying that, she's interviewed me a couple of times on her podcast, Unbothered, and she'll tell you about that later on. But today, I invited you, Dr. Barbara, to share about your journey in this book, especially. So my questions are kind of about that. She in her chapter, Emerging from Darkness, she wrote 2 chapters. She was so encouraging to me with this book. When I wanted to throw it aside and say, forget it, she said, come on, girl, even if we got to write it together alone. So she took on 2 chapters of this in what turned out to be an incredible anthology. And so Emerging from Darkness, A Journey into Light was her chapter 17. So Dr. Barbara, your chapter, Emerging from Darkness, speaks to the deep internal battles that so many women, whether kingdom or not, face. They face it silently. And what was the turning point or defining moment in your journey where you sensed God pulling you out of darkness and inviting you into restoration?
First of all, I'd like to say thank you so much for allowing me to lock arms with you on this particular journey. And it has everything to do with the question you just asked me. While I was in seminary, I had just come through a situation that we talk about in the book. And after my mom had passed away, I was her caregiver for a while. I lived in the family home, had moved out of my own house to live in her house so that she would be comfortable. And I stayed there for another 3 years. And one day, the drive from seminary to home is about an hour and a half. And so one evening, when I arrived back home from school, I had an overwhelming urge when I opened the door, and it simply said to me, you got to get out of here. I went on in, did the things, woke up the next morning with that same feeling. I got to get out of here. And that's exactly what I did. Called the real estate agent and did the things that need to happen. She was at the house the next day, listed the property. And the very next day, somebody was there asking her if they could see the house. And within 2 weeks' time, I was at the closing table from that moment. And it's all about hearing God, because that was God telling me it's time to leave. It's time to get out of what you know.
Wow.
And go to what you don't know. Follow where I am leading you. It's an Abraham move. I didn't know where I was going to end up because my house sold before I had another place. I was in seminary commuting and living in Richmond, Virginia for the week and home on the weekend. And so I didn't have time. I didn't know it was going to move that fast, but that was God's timing. If I had done it my way, if I had been able to do it my way, I would have had all the plans. And no, the agent had to find me a place to live after my house was sold. And therefore, that movement was an Abraham move, because whatever she found is what I took. It was a nice place, but it became my cocoon. I was healing from a lot of the things that I talked about in the book. I'm not going to tell it all because I want them to get the book and read it. But I was healing from a lot of things. And my cocoon, which was in Hampton, Virginia, I moved from Chesapeake, Virginia, was actually that turning point, because I moved away from things I knew and moved into a community where I didn't know. And God moved me a few times. And it personally, that began to uncover itself in my process through writing. Because as I said, I was in seminary. I was working on my doctorate degree, and it was time for me to do the things working toward my dissertation. And I got stuck. I couldn't do any writing. I couldn't think of whatever. And I began just writing whatever was in me to write, and ended up publishing my first book ever when I was supposed to be working on my dissertation.
Wow.
But that was therapeutic. It was medicinal. It was transformational, because the end of my first book reached me with SMILES. And SMILES is an acronym dealing with discipleship. It's a handbook for developing disciple makers. And the very end of it was actually the beginning of my dissertation. That's God.
That's God.
That's God. And so it's okay to be your authentic self. And it's just okay to get out of there. It's really okay when God says move, even if it doesn't sound right, doesn't feel right, feels uncomfortable, it's a little prickly, you got to do it anyway.
Wow. Well, I understand that plight, as you know, very well. We travel similar journeys in so many areas. And so I get that cocoon place of just being still. Still. It's a stillness that we can't even explain, even in our writing. It's hard to explain because it's a God move. It's a God move. Right. And when it's a God move, you just move. And so I just want to jump off of that to the power of self-discovery, meeting the woman God created. You write so powerfully, because I got to read all of these. You write so powerfully about self-discovery as a spiritual and emotional awakening. So how did you personally begin uncovering rather than hiding your identity and your purpose and your God-given strengths? What did that process reveal to you about who you really and truly are.
That is fascinating because it has me thinking about why I was in the circumstance of feeling like I was in a dark place in the first place.
Dr.
Some of it
Barbara,
was, yes, some of it
I,
was,
I could you say that, because you broke up a little.
all right. The question you asked me is very, very interesting. And it takes me back to the place where I was not really hiding, but I was hiding. I was hiding from myself and not acknowledging my authentic self. I was busy doing what other people expected me to do. I was busy being comfortable or trying to be comfortable in someone else's armor, but their armor didn't fit me. Their clothing, their way to do things, their way to, I knew it was not against, but I knew it wasn't what God had told me to do the way he told me to do it. My ministry wasn't like what was traditional. And I didn't understand that at first. I kept forcing myself. And so, in the personal sense, moving from the familiar to the unfamiliar forced me to take a good look at myself and actually hear God. What is he telling me to do and how, which was more important than what. I knew the what and didn't question the what, but it was the how. And I wasn't hearing him clearly because there was a cacophony, as I speak about in the book, of so many other voices.
And sometimes we listen to the other voices because they're familiar. They're familiar and we can hear them even more clearly sometimes than God, because sometimes he's a whisperer, right? And he whispers and we're like, who should I listen to? But I'm so grateful that every single time in your case, you seem to have listened to God, and look at where we are today in this book that we collectively wrote. And so my next question, leading while healing, the weight of being the strong one, you being the strong one, your ministry, your books, your mentoring communities, support those who constantly pour into others. How have you learned to lead, teach, and serve while also tending to your own healing? What wisdom, wise woman of God, what wisdom can you offer to leaders who feel overwhelmed, unseen, or spiritually depleted? And before you even answer, I just want to say to our audience, she's helped me with that. Even from just reading her work has helped me with that. So don't think that because we're on here, we have arrived, because we never arrive. We're like walking on each other's heels, like Ruth did with Naomi. So I introduce you to one of my Naomis today because I'm walking on her heels. And so now you get to answer.
That is very, very humbling, and I'm very, very touched. But the direct answer is to simply be transparent. It was difficult for me because of some of the struggles and the trauma that I had faced in recent years of that particular turbulent time of my life. It was difficult for me. However, looking back on it, you have 20/20 vision. When I became transparent about whatever, about anything, and really honed in on being my authentic self, being comfortable listening to God and following him in obedience to him, not the other stuff going on in the world around me or to me. Then I listened also as a leader with what we call in psychology the third ear. Listening in a way that I'm not waiting to hear for you to finish so that I could speak. I'm listening. I'm with you. I hear you. I see you. And so in mentoring and leading and shepherding and doing the things that we do as Christians at a certain level in the Lord, you have to be transparent to let them know I'm dealing with this. And because I went through this, God has enabled me to understand you in a way that I can escort you through. It's not my place to tell you what to do. And so in leadership, that transparency was key for me. And so also, as I continue to heal, then I have to be aware. I learned to be aware of not being so careful about the shame that comes with feelings you self-impose, not because someone else said, but thoughts that you have about yourself when certain things are going on in your life. Again, all the details, they're in the book.
Yes.
You pause and let God be God. And so my cocoon in another community allowed me, not knowing people within that community, it allowed me the opportunity to actually let God be God. And I began writing, and I always journaled, but those began to take legs and feet and arms and a mind of their own to come up with this trilogy that God had birthed in me. So all the writing was a part of the transparency, not necessarily telling all of somebody else's details, but just enough of it to get to the part about what God did for me to bring me through. So that in leading, you don't stop doing what God told you to do. You do that while you are healing. And all of it is the evolutionary process, that transformation process from cocoon to soar. My God, yes, I can
Wow.
talk a lot about that. But
Wow.
you are transparency, pausing with the Lord, and just allowing God to be God. He does not need your help.
Yes, 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 yes. I am so glad you said that, because I tried to tell that to my clients and all the time, my students. God doesn't need our help. We could do all things through him, not by ourselves. We are not, no one is an island. And even we need God and we need other people. And like I said, Dr. Barbara has become such an integral part of my own journey. So she talked about it, from cocoon to soar, lessons for women on their own transformation journey. So across your writings, from Points to Ponder to the Disciples' Journey to your chapters in this anthology, you champion some things. You champion growth, faith, and spiritual maturity. So what do you hope women will gain from your two chapters, and how can they practically, a practical way, move from darkness into self-discovery and ultimately into wholeness and purpose?
I love talking about this because this is that the keyword growth is the anchor or the thread, whichever analogy you choose to use, for the whole ministry that God gave me to do. Anything that he has me to do always has to do with helping people to grow, whether it's in a bigger community, a circle, or audience, or whether it's just simply one-on-one, as in mentoring, or simple conversation with someone in a grocery store. What can I do that will assist somebody? And so I find that that spiritual maturity comes when you realize that you can worship God all day. You don't have to wait until Sunday or your special day of an event to go to a particular place to worship him. Consistently spend time listening to God. I mean, we're going beyond our prayer time, but sit a little while longer beyond the Bible reading, Bible study time when you're spending personal time with God. sit a little while longer and ponder with him and just listen, hear and feel God moving in you and move when he says so. He may be telling you something as simple as stop what you're doing and go ahead to the store now. And when you go to the store, this is something that happened to me. You go to the Walmart and you do the thing, you fill up the cart with whatever you were supposed to. And on my way out the door, Dr. Brehon from way across somewhere else. And I ended up spending an hour or so, probably more than an hour, talking to someone because God said, go now, not later.
Yeah.
Then I ran into that person. I was leaving. He was coming in. He saw me. I did not see him. And God allowed me to minister to him in those moments right there in Walmart. So consistently spending the time, consistently listening to God, even after reading the word, even after praying, even after being an intercessor for someone else. All those spiritual disciplines are wonderful. And then there's more time just sitting still. Be still and know that I am God. Listening and moving when he says, and being okay with the obedience, even as I said before, if it doesn't look like what other people are doing. They're not going to understand your call. They're not going to understand it because God didn't tell it to them. He gave it to you. Now, how long did it take me to understand that the call he put on my life didn't change? What changed was how I perceived it, how I understood it, and it began transforming itself when I went into that cocoon. And it was almost a forced cocoon entrance. I didn't just crawl in. I was kind of kicked out of the nest. I was kicked out. I'm just mixing all these metaphors, but I was kicked out in a sense. But those were choices at the same time. And I feel good. And I want women today and anyone else who's listening, especially young girls, anyone, to be able to be okay. It is that God said you are, because God did not make a mistake when he made you. He did not make a mistake when he called you and told you what he wanted you to do. And when I had a mentoring session not long ago at my retreat, I asked them, actually it was last week, I asked them if they would reconsider their call to do what God said. What did God ask you to do in the first place? Write that down and think about that, ponder that, and let God tell you within the next few hours, what was it that changed? And the answer won't be God changed, your perspective about what he asked you to do. So revisit that and reimagine and then get back to work.
Wow. Well, there you have it. Mostly ladies, some gentlemen, whoever would listen to this. This was an urgent message, right? So I'm hoping that you receive the urgency of the message. Being in that cocoon is where you hear God speak more clearly, because when you're in there, you can't really move, that butterfly can't really do any adjusting until the wings are created, right? And prior to that cocoon, there's a crawling and all the things that happen. And we're using quite a few metaphors here, but that's the metaphor of From Cocoon to Soar, where you crawl, you get to the cocoon, you fly, and then eventually we take flight like eagles. And I really reintroduce you to an eagle that is flying so high. No way she could ever be a chicken again, because she's taken flight into places that she didn't even know she was going to be in. And this book is probably one of them. And so I'm praying that it will be a blessing to all of you when you read it, when you read her chapters. You will recall this conversation with the woman herself and see that in reality, she's real and she's actually getting the work done. I'm not going to tell her age, but she is mature, to say the least, wise in all of her ways. And the Bible says to use discernment, oh, so discerning in all of her ways. And so that doesn't happen automatically, especially to you younger women watching. You gotta make your way to that. And sometimes it requires a lot of sometimes painful things. Yes. And so I want you, Dr. Barbara, to tell the people a little bit about what you do and how they could reach out to you if they need that mentor, that coach, all the things that you do.
Step one, in order to reach out, simply go to the website, favoredbythefather.com. And on it, you will find all ways to tap into me. There's my information for my link tree, which goes to all my social media. If you Google me, you'll find me. I've got my books on Amazon. So I've got 7 books now, thanks to Dr. Sharon and Cocoon to Soar. That's to Soar. That's number 7. I do have a podcast called Unboxed on Purpose, and that has that logo of mine with the cloud and the butterflies coming out of a dark place, soaring high and fluttering freely. All those things are part of what I do. Obviously, I'm a writer. I'm also an adjunct professor for a cohort of Doctor of Ministry students at the Virginia University of Lynchburg, and they are writing their work on discipleship. And so everything that I'm doing is all about helping people to grow. And so I could go on and on about those things, but the podcasting, the writing, the mentoring, all of those you can find again on the website, favoredbythefather.com, and follow me on social media. And I will be more than happy to get back with you. If you click contact us, it'll send an email directly to me.
Wow. So there you have it. Our interview time with Dr. Barbara has been oh so special. What a profound and soul-stirring conversation we just had. Her wisdom, like I said, vulnerability, and leadership remind us that transformation is definitely possible. Purpose is definitely attainable, and God is present all the time in every step of our journey. He's so very present. So if this episode blessed you, be sure to share it with another woman who needs encouragement today and moving forward. You can learn more about my work, empowering Kingdom Women to Soar, leadership, purpose, and vision at drsharonarrindell.com. And don't forget to follow the SOAR Leadership podcast. Follow us. We're out there. We're on LinkedIn. This is episode number 5. We're on LinkedIn. We're on YouTube. We're on Facebook. Follow us. Until next time, keep rising, keep believing, and keep especially soaring. Don't let go of your wings. Even when it feels like they've been clipped, God can readjust those clipped wings. We are examples of that, and help you to soar. Thank you for joining us, and have a blessed day.
Thank you for joining us today on SOAR, Leadership for Kingdom Women. Remember, you are called to rise higher in business, in church, and in life. Stay strong, stay aligned, and keep soaring with boldness, wisdom, and faith. Until next time, keep rising,